Star Wars Squadrons has roared onto consoles and PC. Squadrons brings to the table an intriguing mix of simulation and arcade space combat. However, all the systems can be a lot to digest, so let's look at turning you from a novice into a hotshot ace. Now before we start, I'd love to know what you guys think of the game so far. To me, it feels like I finally have that game I've been waiting for since I was a kid, playing Rogue Leader and Rebel Strike, and I'm having a blast. So be sure to let me know what you love and hate in the comment section. So the first thing we're going to look at is power management of your StarCraft. All the information you're going to need to know regarding this will be displayed inside your cockpit. The three systems that you have to manage power to are your weapons, shown in red, your engines, shown in blue, and then your shields, shown in green. Now most Imperial craft don't actually have shields, so for them you're only going to have to worry about your weapons and your engines. We'll talk about those differences a little bit more later. So when you're managing your power, there are three states for each system: low power, standard power, and full power. At standard power, your systems will act normally. With low power, you're going to see performance decreases. Low shields won't regenerate as fast. Low power in engines reduces your mobility and speed. And low weapons will significantly reduce your firepower. Now if you happen to focus your power, you'll see the opposite happen, along with other bonuses. Full power to your engines will allow you to move faster and tighter, along with also filling up a boost gauge. You can then spend this for increased speed, and we'll talk about some tricks you can do with that later. Having full power into your shields allows you to overcharge them, giving you double the original values. And full power into your weapons allows you to overcharge them as well, increasing their firepower. Diverting power between these systems is going to become your bread and butter for this game, and it can be a little bit tough to keep them managed while also flying your craft and aiming your guns, but eventually you're going to find a nice rhythm to it, so don't feel too discouraged. Now it's important to note that benefits you get from overcharging do not disappear immediately when you divert power to another source. Because of this, you can kind of juggle different bonuses at the same time. For example, you can charge up your shields, and then swap to putting power into your engines to close the gap on an enemy, and then you can divert power to your guns and still have that bonus shield to work with. Stacking these bonuses can give you a major advantage in a dogfight. Now let's talk about drifting with boost. While having boost by itself gives you great maneuverability options, learning to drift will really open up your possibilities for dogfights. Using this skill, you can turn over 90 degrees incredibly quickly, and you can turn so quick that you'll have the ability to shoot down missiles on your own tail. To do this, you want to tap your boost to engage it, and once on and you want to make a drift, you then press and hold down the boost button again, and slam your yaw axis the way you want to turn. You can then follow this up with another boost if you want to continue going in a certain direction. It takes a little getting used to, and I recommend trying it out in the practice lobbies like you can see me doing here. The next thing we're going to talk about is focusing shields. When flying a ship with shields, you are given the ability to maximize your front or back shields. Using this properly can effectively give you double the shields you'd normally have on that side, while exposing the opposite end of your ship. It can be incredibly useful when assaulting a capital ship, jousting other players, or if there's someone on your tail you just can't shake. When your shields are overcharged, you can't actually focus them farther, but you can basically use your other set of shields as a reload for your defenses. Timing this correctly can give you 400% normal shields, and can even make your interceptors a little bit more tanky. Since most Imperial ships don't have shields, they're instead giving emergency power converters. Mapped to the same key you have for focusing shields, this mechanic allows you to swap out overcharged weapons for engine boosts and vice versa. You can also tap the button to split the bonuses between weapons and engines. This is a great way to get boosts when you need it. It can also help when you need that last little burst of damage to kill someone in a chase. Next up is targeting. Clicking the select target button with units in front of you will cause your ship to track a target. While tracked to an enemy, missiles will begin to lock on, and ships that pass out of your field of view will have an arrow pointing to their direction. You can also see the tracked ship's health and its orientation from within your cockpit. You can also hold down the select target button to choose what you want your systems to focus on. This can help make targeting easier when you're in a busy environment. On the flip side of targeting, there is stealth. Some ships have the ability to load modules that give them stealth capabilities. While these don't actually make you invisible, you won't appear on the radar, and you won't be able to be locked onto. This allows you to set up ambushes and focus on fights where you think you have the advantage. While you're stealthed, you'll be able to see an indicator on your HUD, and nebulas within the environment can also hide you, at the cost of hull integrity. Next up is defending yourself from missiles. Missiles require lock-ons, and there's a number of things you can do to limit enemies from locking onto your ship. Some include modules in different parts of your ship that increase the time lock-ons take to acquire. There are also a number of countermeasures in the game, all which act differently, being good at different ranges from different angles, and even one that redirects missiles back at the person that fired it. To use countermeasures, you'll have to know the effective range of it, and keep an eye on the indicator on your screen showing how far away a missile is. When you believe it's in a good position, press the countermeasure button. If successful, you'll see missile counter pop up on your HUD. If you have no countermeasures left or they're on cooldown, you can choose to manually dodge a missile. This involves doing hard, sharp turns quickly, or using the terrain and putting it between you and the missile's path. One way you can assist yourself in using the environment would be to use boosting and drifting to get in between large objects quickly. It is possible to outrun missiles if you just go straight fast enough. However, this method is much less reliable. Let's quickly touch on ion weapons. Ion weapons are very strong versus shields, however they do minimal damage to hull. Besides being good against shields, they can cripple enemy starfighters, forcing them to be helpless for a few seconds, opening them up for attack. This means that even against Imperial fighters without shields, they can still be useful, such as having missiles finish them off. Okay guys, now we're going to rotate to talking about ship classes. There are 4 main classes in Star Wars Squadrons. These include the Fighter, the Bomber, the Interceptor, and the Support class. Each class fulfills a slightly different role, although there is significant overlap thanks to modules and loadouts. The first class we're going to take a look at is the Fighter. You can consider this the jack of all trades. It has good hull strength, good weapons, and based on its loadout can be focused on shooting down smaller craft or helping take down capital ships with proton torpedoes. Next, let's look at the Bomber. This is a great class if you want to focus on objectives, such as flagships or cruisers. With strong defenses and solid firepower, it can even be used as a heavy fighter with the right loadout, being able to go head to head against other fighters thanks to its increased strength. However, it does suffer from its lack of speed and mobility. Interceptors are great ambushers thanks to their high speed and maneuverability. Comboed with their high firepower, getting the jump on an enemy pilot means that you can take them down before they can even respawn. However, to achieve this, they sacrifice almost all of their armor, causing them to be almost paper-like. Getting caught out of position with one of these can very quickly end in needless deaths. However, being in a good position can lead to you going on kill sprees very quickly. The Support class of ships should also not be overlooked, thanks to the amazing utility it adds to both factions. Offering a helping hand with mid-air reloads and armor replenishments, and other modules you can add, such as bonus shields, increased damage and homing capabilities on enemy craft, and even being able to hide the entire squadron from radar. We'll talk about more advanced tactics with this in another guide. For now, just remember healing allied fighters is almost like giving them extra lives for free. Now that you have a solid understanding of the fundamentals, let's talk about the different game modes. At launch, there are 2 modes to play. This includes Dogfight and Fleet Battles. Dogfight being smaller, more team deathmatch oriented matches, where it's simply first team to 30 kills wins. It's a great way to warm up, try out new loadouts, or practice your skills. The only thing to keep in mind about this mode is that occasionally power-ups will spawn that can repair your ship and give you ammo. Fleet battles are the meat and potatoes of Star Wars Squadrons. These massive battles take place with dozens of starships on each side. Your team's win condition is taking down the enemy flagship. Let's take a look at the stages that lead up to this. But before that, let's talk about a mechanic that follows you the entire match. This would be the morale bar located at the top of your screen. Completing objectives and taking out enemy starfighters will push it in favor of your team. These include the AI starfighters that are flying around. Although not as glorious as killing other players, destroying an entire squadron of these can lead to a higher boost in morale than just focusing on player ships. Bombers and ships with multi-lock capabilities can make quick work of squadrons, controlled by the AI. Remember, dying gives points to the enemy's morale meter, so careless flying is quickly punished. Because of this, repairing is a very important part of this. Between alternating attacking and defending, you'll have multiple ways to repair your starfighter. These include at frigates if they're still alive, or entering inside your flagship to rearm and then coming out. Although generally farther away from the fight, going back to your flagship also gives you the added ability to change your starfighter if you desire. Now let's rotate towards the stages in fleet battle. To start is the opening wave, where both sides send their fighters directly in a crash course towards each other. Try not to get too brave, charging headfirst into the enemy without backup. This skirmish is quite important because it helps set the tone for the rest of the fight. Whoever fills up their morale bar first from destroying other starships gets to go on the attack first. Now, a quick addition I found out while finishing up recording for this is killing the spawned corvette or raider also forces an attacker defense. Once the momentum has been set and a team has filled the morale bar, it's time for the tug of war to begin. During this time, a raider or corvette will warp in and begin attacking the enemy frigate or cruisers. Be sure not to stray too close to a flagship, as this will end in almost immediate death. Bombers can play an important role on both sides during this time, either by stopping raider or corvette ships from approaching, or commencing attack and bombing runs on the enemy capital ships. While the enemy ships have their shields up, having ion weapons will help greatly. These will help melt away the shields and open them up for more explosive weapons to damage their ship. Once a part of the hull has been destroyed, make sure you focus on a different area. If on defense, your focus should be taking down enemy bombers before they can reach your capital ships, while also pressuring the enemy squadron to push morale back in your own favor to start your own attack. Eventually, one side will lose their outer two capital ships, and the other side will press their attack for the flagship. This is no easy task though, as it requires an absolute massive amount of damage to destroy. Like the smaller capital ships, you're going to have to chew through shields before you can really attack the hull. However, even with shields up, you can take out auxiliary pieces of the ship, such as turrets or subsystems, if you get close enough that you're actually within the shield radius. Destroying different parts of the ship will result in the reduced effectiveness of the capital ship's weapons and shields, along with opening additional weak points to deal extra damage. Let's take a quick look at where to find these subsystems on the capital ships. Over at the Star Wars Squadrons subreddit, you can see a couple users posted diagrams to the capital ship. First, let's look at Star Destroyers. They have shield generators on the top. Next, we can find targeting systems along the raised section of the ship. And finally, on the underbelly, we can find the power system, which destroying reveals additional weak spots to attack. Looking at the New Republic flagship, we can find targeting on the top side and the antenna tower, followed by shields on both sides of the hull in the center. And at the foot of the ship, we can find the power systems. Knowing where these systems are critical to success, so don't forget where they are. Fleet battles will bounce back and forth between attack and defense until one flagship is destroyed and a winner is crowned. And with that, we've covered the absolute basics of squadrons. If you think I've missed something I should have covered in this guide, please let me know and I'll try to add it in my next one. And if you've enjoyed this guide, be sure to drop a like and subscribe for more. Once again, I'm Zim, and thanks for watching my guide.